We continue working the latest on Rhode Island's risky business deal with 38 studios. The controversy continues with the Boston Globe reporting that the Massachusetts Attorney General's office is fielding complaints from workers who claim they went without pay for weeks. WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi joins us now with more on 38 studios situation. Good morning, Ted. Thanks for coming in again.
Morning, Patrick.
We were talking off the air a little bit ago about 38 studios. If I went and knocked on the door at One Empire right now, what's going on at that place right now?
Well, I don't think anyone's going to open it for you or me, Patrick. There are a few people in there, auditors at this point. The state has sent in an auditing team from Deloitte. That's one of the big consulting companies out of New York City. They're in there, and they're going through the company's finances all the way back to 2006 when Schilling founded it to see what money was coming in, what money was going out, and where the money Rhode Islanders are backing up went. But the employees are gone. They're out. They're being rehired by other firms. They're not making video games anymore.
All right, so Curt Schilling, is he still looking for people to invest in his fledgling company right now, or is this thing DOA? That's
the question in a lot of ways. I mean, Schilling, as you know, will barely talk. He gave one interview to the Providence Journal, but hasn't returned calls from any other reporters. Yeah, Governor Chafee told us on Monday, I asked him, I said, you know, isn't it about time that the company goes into bankruptcy if there's no employees, you know, to protect its assets? The governor said, well, 38 Studios tells us they're still looking for private investors to come in and sort of, on a white horse, save the company. But it's just so hard to see a company with no, we had Newsmakers a discussion about this on Friday here, and it's very hard to see why an investor would come into a company that now has no employees and isn't making anything, because you'd have to rebuild it almost from scratch. You'd have the game they put together, but you wouldn't have anyone to work on it.
All right, you know how the news cycle works, and as the days go on, this becomes further down on the rundown, as we like to say here in the newsroom. But it's still there, and there's still a lot of money that needs to be found, and to make up for what has been lost. Folks at home that are watching might say, all right, when am I going to be eventually on the hook for this $75 million that was given to Curt Schilling?
We've got a year, basically.
Okay.
We've got money set aside to pay one more payment to the bondholders. Just to remind people, we borrowed $75 million and basically co-signed the loan for Schilling's company.
Right.
The Schilling's company took $50 million of the money and spent it, so there's a lot of money that we put aside, but we're going to run out of that money starting around next May, and at that point, that's when the governor will have to ask lawmakers to take taxpayer money and use that to start putting money aside for the bondholders. So that's coming, and we're looking at, we estimate almost $90 million through 2020 coming out of Rhode Island's budget, and you know, it's budget week here in the state. There isn't a lot of money flowing around already, so that's going to mean cuts or tax increases or just unable to spend money elsewhere.
All right, final question, the EDC, a couple people running for the exit as quick as they could after this whole thing went down. Governor Chafee has appointed a few more people to that board to replace the folks that left. What's the status of the EDC?
EDC, the Economic Development Corporation, they gave the loan. Chafee was never in favor of it. He's now appointed 6 new board members. Still needs the Senate to approve them, which could be tough because Senate President Paiva-Weed was very close to Keith Stokes, who resigned and isn't very happy about how all this has gone down. Chafee's also appointed a special group to review the entire agency and see what should be done, basically if it should still exist. That report's due in September, so I think a lot of things we're just going to be waiting until September for this review committee to come back and say what should be done. But in the end, a lot of this is going to be up to lawmakers. Does the EDC work? This was Governor Allman's idea in the 90s as a way to sort of jumpstart the economy and get our ducks in a row. But it may be that at this point it hasn't worked out like he wanted.
All right, Ted, thanks as always for coming in. Appreciate it. For the very latest on Rhode Island's risky business deal with 38 Studios, check out Nesi's notes on WPRI.com. You can find it under the blogs tab. More